The void of space stretched endlessly before Taeyang's fighter as he completed another routine patrol. His fingers drummed against the control panel, bored. 3 months of patrols near the neutral zone and nothing ever happened. The stars blinked silently around him, indifferent to his presence. Sunfire, this is command. Report status, the radio crackled. Taeyang sighed. All clear, command. Same as the last 6 hours. Copy that. Maintain your route and return to base at 1800 hours. He was about to acknowledge when his scanner beeped. A faint signal, almost lost in the background noise. Taeyang frowned and adjusted the frequency. There it was again, stronger now. A distress call. Command, I'm picking up something. Possible distress signal, coordinates, negative Sunfire. That sector is outside your patrol zone. Return to base. Taeyang looked at his scanner. The signal was growing weaker. Someone was dying out there. He thought of his family, their colony ship, the distress call that no one answered. His jaw tightened. Command, I'm experiencing communication interference. Repeat your last transmission? Sunfire, do not. Taeyang switched off his radio and punched the thrusters. His fighter leaped forward, eating up the distance to the signal source. If he got court-martialed for this, so be it. He wouldn't leave someone to die in the dark. 20 minutes later, he found them. His breath caught in his throat. A massive ship floated dead in space, its elegant hull torn open in a dozen places. But that wasn't what made his blood run cold. 6 warships surrounded it, all bearing the same markings as the dying vessel. They were firing on their own ship. Taeyang pulled back, hiding in the shadow of a nearby asteroid. His computer identified the vessels as Draken, the dragon people who ruled half the known galaxy. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Coalition 5 years ago. Getting involved in Draken business was a good way to start a war. But as he watched, another volley of plasma fire tore into the crippled ship. Escape pods launched desperately, only to be shot down one by one. Damn it, Taeyang muttered. He couldn't just watch. He intercepted their communications, his translator struggling with the harsh Draken language. What he heard made his stomach turn. The princess must not escape. General Yuna's orders are absolute. All pods destroyed. The traitor will die with her ship. A princess. They were killing their own princess. Taeyang's hands moved before his brain could stop them. He mapped the asteroid field, calculating trajectories and angles. Then he armed every weapon he had and dove into the fray. His first missile caught the nearest Draken ship completely by surprise, slamming into its engine. The warship lurched, colliding with another vessel. Chaos erupted. Human fighter, identify yourself. Taeyang didn't answer. He wove through the asteroid field like a needle through cloth, using every trick he'd learned in flight school and a few he'd invented himself. The Draken ships were bigger, stronger, better armed, but they flew like they'd never seen an asteroid before. He led 2 of them into a narrow gap between tumbling rocks. At the last second, he rolled sideways. The Draken ships weren't as nimble. The explosions lit up the darkness behind him. All units, destroy that human. He cannot reach the royal vessel. But Taeyang was already there. He matched velocity with the dying ship, his scanners searching for any intact airlocks. There, near the stern, one section still showed atmosphere. He brought his fighter alongside and fired his docking clamps. The clang of metal on metal echoed through his cockpit. Then silence. The Draken warships had stopped firing, probably afraid of hitting their own vessel. That gave him maybe 2 minutes. Taeyang grabbed his emergency kit and cycled through the airlock. The interior of the ship was a nightmare. Bodies lay everywhere, both Draken in their natural form and in their human-like shapes. Smoke filled the corridors. Emergency lights flickered weakly. He ran deeper into the ship, following his scanner. It detected one life sign, faint but steady, near what his computer identified as the command deck. The door was jammed. Taeyang braced himself and kicked it. Once, twice. On the 3rd kick, it screeched open. She lay in the center of the deck, surrounded by 6 guards who had died protecting her. At first, Taeyang thought she was human. She had delicate features, long black hair, and wore ornate armor. But then he saw the scales that traced along her neck and arms, shimmering silver even in the dim light. Her eyes were closed, blood trickling from a wound on her forehead. Hey, he said, kneeling beside her. Can you hear me? Her eyes flickered open. They were gold with vertical pupils like a cat's, dragon eyes. She stared at him, confused. Human? Her voice was weak, speaking in accented standard. Yeah, and we need to leave now. He tried to lift her, but she was heavier than she looked. She groaned in pain, and he saw more blood seeping through her armor. The wounds looked bad. Leave me, she whispered. You cannot carry me. Save yourself. Not happening. Tae-yang pulled her arm over his shoulder and half-carried, half-dragged her toward the airlock. Behind them, the ship groaned as bulkheads failed. They had maybe a minute before the whole thing came apart. They were halfway to his fighter when the princess suddenly stiffened. Her skin rippled and scales began spreading across her body. Her hand in his grip grew claws. No, she gasped. Cannot control it. Leave now. I said not happening. With strength born of desperation, Tae-yang hauled her through the airlock into his fighter. It wasn't designed for two people. He shoved her into the backspace meant for cargo, squeezing in beside her and slammed the controls. The docking clamps released. His fighter pulled away just as the Draken ship exploded in a silent ball of flame. Proximity alarm screamed. The 4 remaining Draken warships had him locked.
Human vessel, you have abducted Princess Hana of House Silverwing.
Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Tae-yang looked back at the Princess Hana. She had passed out again, her breathing shallow. Half her body was covered in silver scales now. One arm fully transformed into a dragon's limb. She looked young, maybe his age, and terrified even in unconsciousness. He thought about his family again. The unanswered distress call. The empty graves. Not today, he muttered. His fingers flew across the controls. He dumped every bit of power into the engines and dove back into the asteroid field. Plasma fire lit up the space around him, superheating rocks into molten slag. But Tae-yang knew these asteroids now. He'd memorized their patterns while leading the warships on their earlier chase. He threaded through gaps that shouldn't exist, rolled around spinning rocks that would have crushed his ship, and pushed his engines past their safety limits. The Draken ships followed, but they were too big, too slow. Finally, he reached the jump point. His computer screamed warnings about jumping so close to a gravity well, but he didn't have a choice. He activated the hyperdrive. The stars stretched into lines. The asteroid field vanished. The Draken warships disappeared. In the sudden silence, Tae-yang slumped in his seat, his hands shaking. Behind him, Hana stirred. You, her golden eyes focused on him with difficulty. You saved me, why? Before he could answer, the proximity alarm blared again. His blood went cold, impossible. They couldn't have tracked him through hyperspace. But they had. 6 more Draken warships dropped out of hyperspace around him. Weapons charged. A voice filled his cockpit, cold and commanding. Human pilot, you have 10 seconds to surrender Princess Hana. Refuse and you will be destroyed. Your choice. Tae-yang looked at his weapons display. Empty. His shields were at 15%. His engines were overheating. He looked back at Hana. She was watching him with those strange golden eyes, waiting to see what he would do. He smiled grimly and reached for the controls. Sorry, but I didn't come this far to give up now. The countdown began. Tae-yang's mind raced as the countdown continued. 8 seconds, 7. He couldn't fight 6 warships. He couldn't outrun them. But maybe he could outsmart them. Attention Draken fleet, he transmitted, forcing his voice to stay steady. This is Pilot Tae-yang Park of the Terran Coalition. I regret to inform you that Princess Hana died in the explosion. I attempted to rescue her, but she was already gone. Silence. Then, you lie, human. Check your own scans of the debris field. The princess's biosignature disappeared with the ship. I'm transmitting my cockpit footage now. He sent them heavily edited video, showing him entering the ship but cutting out everything after. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm returning to human space now. More silence. Tae-yang held his breath. Human. You will submit to a boarding inspection to verify. Tae-yang cut the transmission and jumped to hyperspace again, pushing his damaged engines beyond their limits. Behind him, Hana made a small sound of pain. That was clever, she whispered. But they will not believe it for long. I know. We need to get somewhere safe, fast. There is nowhere safe. My own aunt ordered this. She controls the military now. Hana's voice was bitter. General Yuna believes I am weak because I want peace with other species. She convinced the commanders that I would destroy the Empire's warrior traditions. And would you? Hana's golden eyes met his. I would change them. We have been warriors for 10,000 years. Perhaps it is time to be something more. Tae-yang nodded slowly. He understood that kind of thinking. That's why half the fleet thought he was crazy. His computer beeped a warning. The jump had taken them far from Draken's space, but his engines were failing. Heat warnings flashed across every display. They had maybe an hour before complete shutdown. "There's a moon nearby," he said, studying the charts. "Uninhabited. We can land there, make repairs. Can you repair the ship?" "I can try." The moon was covered in dense jungle, the air thick with moisture and strange pollen that made his scanner glitch. Taiyang sat down in a small clearing near a waterfall. The moment he cut the engine, smoke began pouring from the vents. "That's not good," he muttered. He helped Hana out of the fighter. She could barely stand, leaning heavily on him. Her transformation had reversed, but the scales still traced patterns across her skin, and her eyes remained that brilliant gold. "I apologize," she said. "I am weak. The injuries prevent me from controlling my form. You got shot down by your own people and survived an exploding ship. That's not weak. That's pretty tough, actually." She smiled slightly. It transformed her face, making her look younger, almost fragile. "You are kind for a human. And you're nicer than I expected for someone who could turn into a dragon and eat me." Her laugh was cut short by a wince of pain. Taeyang eased her down against a tree and examined the fighter. The damage was worse than he thought. He'd need at least 3 days to fix it, assuming he could even find the right parts. Night fell quickly on the jungle moon. Strange sounds echoed through the trees, calls and howls from creatures he couldn't identify. Taeyang built a fire using his emergency kit while Hana watched, her eyes reflecting the flames like a cat's. "You should leave me," she said quietly. "Take the emergency beacon and call for human rescue. If they find you with me, it could start a war." "Yeah, I thought about that. Decided I don't care. Why?" She leaned forward, intense. "Why would you risk everything for someone you do not know?" Taeyang poked at the fire, memories surfacing. "When I was 12, our colony was raided by pirates. My family managed to send a distress call before the communications went down. We hid in the shelters for 3 days waiting for help." He paused. No one came. By the time the coalition fleet arrived, most people were dead. My parents, my sister, everyone. All because someone decided our distress call wasn't important enough. "I am sorry," Hana said softly. "So when I hear a distress call, I answer. Every time. No matter what." They sat in silence for a while, the fire crackling between them. Then Hana spoke again. "My father, the Emperor, is sick. He has been for months. My Aunt Yuna used his weakness to take control of the military. She spread lies about me, said I wanted to destroy our culture, make us weak like the other species." Her hands clenched. "I only wanted us to build instead of conquer. To create art, science, peace. Is that so terrible? Sounds pretty good to me. My people would call you naive. My people call me reckless. Maybe we're both just different." A roar shattered the night. Something huge moved in the jungle, crashing through trees. Taeyang grabbed his plasma pistol, his only remaining weapon. Hana struggled to stand. The creature burst into the clearing, all teeth and scales and muscle. It looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. Easily 3 meters tall, its eyes fixed on them, hungry. Taeyang fired. The plasma bolt hit its shoulder, barely slowing it down. The creature charged. Then Hana stepped in front of him. Her body exploded outward, growing, changing. Scales rippled across her skin like water. Wings erupted from her back. In seconds, she had transformed into her true form. A dragon, silver scales gleaming in the firelight, easily twice the size of the predator. She roared, a sound that shook the trees and sent birds fleeing into the night sky. The predator stumbled backward, suddenly unsure. Hana lunged forward, her claws tearing into the ground. The predator ran, crashing back into the jungle. Hana stood there, breathing hard, her dragon form magnificent and terrifying. Then she collapsed. Taeyang rushed to her side. She was transforming back, her body shrinking, the scales receding. Blood seeped from her wounds, reopened by the transformation. "Stupid," he muttered, pulling out his medical kit. "You shouldn't have done that." "You saved me," she whispered, her voice weak. "I will not let you die protecting me. We're not going to die. Either of us." He worked through the night, using what little medical training he had to clean and seal her wounds. Draken biology was different from human, but blood was blood, and tissue damage was tissue damage. He did what he could. By morning, Hana was sleeping peacefully, her breathing steady. Taeyang sat beside her, exhausted, watching the sun rise over the alien jungle. She woke slowly, blinking at the light. When she saw him still sitting there, keeping watch, something softened in her golden eyes. "You stayed. Where else would I go?" Most people run from dragons. I'm not most people. She sat up carefully, testing her wounds. They were better, healing with the accelerated speed of her kind. Among my people there is a tradition, the Oath of Wings. When someone saves a dragon's life in battle, we are bound to them. We owe them a life debt. You don't owe me anything. It is not about debt. It is about honor. She looked at him seriously. Taeyang, you saved my life when my own people wanted me dead. You risked everything, asked for nothing. Among my kind, this is the highest form of honor. I offer you the Oath of Wings. I will stay by your side, protect you, fight for you until the debt is repaid. I told you you don't. I know I do not have to. I want to. She smiled. Besides, you are terrible at watching your own back. Someone must keep you alive. Taeyang laughed despite himself. Is that how you repay someone? By insulting them? It is not an insult if it is true. Over the next 2 days they worked together to repair the fighter. Hana, despite her injuries, proved to have a sharp mind for engineering. She understood principles that took Taeyang hours to figure out, explaining them in simple terms. They talked while they worked. She told him about the Draken homeworld, cities built into mountains where dragons soared between crystal spires. She spoke of ancient traditions, of songs that dated back millennia, of art that humans had never seen. He told her about Earth, about humanity's struggle to survive after nearly destroying themselves, about art and music, about the determination to reach the stars despite everything. On the third night, as they sat by the fire again, Hana looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. I have not felt this comfortable with someone in years, she admitted. In the palace, everyone wants something. Power, favor, access to my father. But you just want to help. Maybe I'm an idiot. No, you are good. There is a difference. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm, the scales smooth under his fingers. They sat like that, watching the fire until sleep claimed them both. The next morning, Taeyang received a coded message from Commander Daewon. His blood ran cold as he read it. The Draken Empire had issued a statement. Princess Hana had been killed by human terrorists. If anyone harbored her or aided her, it would be an act of war. He looked at Hana. She had read the message over his shoulder, her face pale. You should leave me here, she said. Return to your people. I will find another way. Not happening. Taeyang, they will kill you. Or worse, start a war that kills millions. Then we better make sure they don't find us. She stared at him, those golden eyes searching his face. Why? Why would you sacrifice so much for me? He should have said it was duty or honor or simple human stubbornness. But standing there with her hand still in his, he realized the truth was simpler and more complicated. Because leaving you behind isn't an option anymore. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Hana squeezed his hand. Then we run together. Haven Station floated in neutral space, a patchwork of metal and lights where a dozen different species lived and traded. It was the kind of place where nobody asked questions and everyone had something to hide, perfect for a fugitive princess and the pilot who saved her. Taeyang guided his battered fighter into the docking bay, trying to look casual. His ship looked like it had been through a war, which wasn't far from the truth. Every sensor sweep made his heart race, expecting Draken warships to appear. Stay hidden until I secure a berth, he told Hana. She nodded, pulling a hood over her distinctive features. But hiding a Draken on a station full of species who could smell, sense, or scan her was going to be hard. The docking master, a 4-armed alien with blue skin, barely glanced at his credentials. Bay 17, 300 credits a day. That's robbery. That's Haven Station. Pay or leave, Taeyang paid. They couldn't afford to draw attention. He led Hana through the crowded corridors, keeping to the shadows. The station smelled of exotic foods, engine oil, and too many bodies pressed together. Music pounded from bars. Merchants hawked everything from star maps to weapons that were illegal in half the galaxy. It is loud, Hana whispered. And anonymous. That's what we need. They found a cheap room in the lower levels. It was barely big enough for one person, let alone two. But at least it had a lock. Taeyang collapsed on the single bed while Hana examined the tiny space. This is smaller than my closet at home, she said. Welcome to how normal people live. She smiled slightly. I did not mean to complain. I am grateful, I know. I'm just tired. He was more than tired. He was exhausted, running on fear and stimulants for 3 days. But he couldn't rest yet. They needed allies, information, a plan. His old friend Jiwoo lived on Haven Station, running cargo ships and asking no questions. If anyone could help them, it was her. He found Jiwoo at her usual spot, a bar called the Comet's Tail. She was older than him by 10 years, with short hair and scars that told stories she never shared. When she saw him, her eyes narrowed. "You look like trouble. I need help." "The answer is no. You haven't heard what I need yet." Jiwoo sighed and gestured to a booth. "Make it quick. I've got a cargo run in 3 hours." Taeyang explained everything, keeping his voice low. Jiwoo's expression went from skeptical to horrified. "You saved a Draken princess? Are you insane?" "Probably. They're saying you're a terrorist. There's a bounty on both your heads. Half the station's hunters are looking for you. That's why I need your help. You know everyone here. Someone must be able to help us." Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then she cursed. "There's a Draken on the station, an exile. She fled the Empire years ago, lives in the industrial section, calls herself Sora now. Can you introduce us?" "I can try. But Taeyang, this is bigger than you realize. If the Draken Empire wants her dead, there's nothing you can do to stop them." "I can try." Jiwoo looked at him like he was a stranger. "You've changed. The Taeyang I knew wouldn't stick his neck out like this. Maybe I'm tired of running away." They met Sora in a workshop filled with half-built machines. She was smaller than Hana, with green scales instead of silver and eyes that had seen too much. When she saw Hana, she actually gasped. "Princess Hana? You are alive? You know me?" Hana asked. "I served in the palace guard before I fled. I remember you as a child." Sora's expression darkened. "I also know your aunt, General Yuna. She is the reason I left." "What do you know about the coup?" Taeyang asked. Sora's story confirmed their worst fears. General Yuna had been planning this for years, slowly placing loyalists in key positions. The Emperor's illness gave her the perfect opportunity. With Hana declared dead, there was no one to challenge her control. "Your father is still alive," Sora said, "but he is a prisoner in his own palace. Yuna keeps him drugged, compliant. She rules in his name." Hana's hands clenched. "Then I must return. Save him. You would be killed the moment you arrived. Then I die trying. Or," Taeyang said carefully, "we find another way. We prove what Yuna did. Turn her own people against her." "How?" Hana demanded. "Who would believe us?" "The truth is a powerful weapon," Sora said slowly. "If the Draken people knew what Yuna had done, if they saw you alive, heard your story, many would question their loyalty to her." "We need to broadcast a message," Taeyang said. "Get it past the military's communication blackout." "Impossible," Sora said. "The Draken control all channels near their space." "What about the Coalition communication network? If we broadcast from there, the whole galaxy would hear it." Jiwoo, who had been listening silently, suddenly spoke. "That's actually not a bad idea. The Coalition has relay stations everywhere. If you hijacked one, even for a few minutes, you could reach billions." "Hijack a Coalition relay?" Sora looked skeptical. "That would bring every authority in the sector down on you." "We're already wanted by the Draken Empire," Taeyang pointed out. "What's a few more charges?" They spent hours planning. Hana would record a message exposing the coup. They would need to get close to a relay station, break through its security, and broadcast before anyone could stop them. It was risky, probably suicidal, but it was a chance. As they worked, word spread through the station. A Draken princess hiding on Haven. The bounty hunters came out like scavengers. The attack came that night. Taeyang was walking back to their room when he heard screams. He ran, pulling his plasma pistol, and found chaos in the corridor. 3 hunters had cornered Hana in the market section. She was fighting them off, but she was still injured, still weak. One hunter had a plasma cannon. He raised it, aiming at Hana's back. Taeyang didn't think. He fired, hitting the hunter's weapon. It exploded, taking the hunter with it. The other 2 turned on him. Then Hana transformed. Right there, in the middle of the crowded market, she shifted into her dragon form. Silver scales gleamed under the station lights. Her wings spread, knocking over merchant stalls. Her roar shook the metal walls. The hunters ran. So did most of the crowd, but some stayed, staring in awe. Hana stood protectively over Taeyang, her massive form blocking any attack. Blood dripped from wounds on her side, but her eyes blazed with fury. Anyone else? She roared. No one moved. Slowly, Hana transformed back. She was breathing hard, barely staying upright. Taeyang caught her as she fell. An old merchant stepped forward. Princess Hana of House Silverwing. I remember when you visited the border worlds. You helped my people negotiate trade rights with the Empire. Others came forward, sharing stories. A doctor she had funded. A teacher whose school she had saved. People who had been touched by her kindness, her attempts at peace. We heard you were dead, the merchant said. Killed by human terrorists. I was betrayed by my own aunt, Hana said clearly. She tried to kill me to take power. This human Taeyang saved my life at great risk to himself. The crowd murmured. Taeyang could see the doubt in their eyes, the fear. Believing her meant going against the Draken Empire. But the merchant bowed. Then you have our support, Princess. Whatever you need. Others joined him. Not all, but enough. In that moment, Taeyang realized something important. Hana wasn't just a princess. She was a symbol of something better. A hope that the Empire could change. Back in their room, Hana tended to her reopened wounds while Taeyang paced. That was reckless, he said. You are one to talk about reckless. I'm serious. You could have been killed. So could you. She looked up at him, those golden eyes intense. I told you, Taeyang. I will not hide while you fight my battles. We are partners now. Partners. He tested the word. I like that. She stood, crossing to him. They were close now. Close enough that he could see the pattern of scales on her neck, the flecks of green in her golden eyes. Among my people, she said softly. When a warrior finds someone they trust completely, someone they would die for, there is a word for it. It translates roughly to wing brother or wing sister. You fight side by side, trust each other with your life. Is that what we are? I think we are more than that. But I do not have words for it yet. Neither did he. All he knew was that the thought of losing her made his chest ache. A knock on the door broke the moment. It was Jiwoo looking grim. We have a problem. I just intercepted a coded message. There's a Draken fleet approaching Haven Station. They'll be here in 6 hours. They tracked us, Hana said. No, Jiwoo said. This is different. The message was sent to you specifically. It's from someone calling himself Commander Bora. He says he's loyal to you, wants to help. Bora? Hana's eyes widened. He was my combat instructor. But how can we trust this? It could be a trap. It could, Taeyang agreed. But we're running out of options and time. Hana looked torn. After what her own people had done, trusting any Draken was dangerous. But Commander Bora had been like family to her once. We meet him, she decided. But carefully. If it is a trap, we run. And if it's not? Jiwoo asked. Hana's expression hardened. Then we take back my empire. Outside their window, stars glittered in the endless dark. Somewhere among them a fleet was approaching. Enemy or ally, they would find out soon enough. Taeyang checked his weapons. Hana meditated, preparing herself for battle or betrayal. And Jiwoo made plans for the fastest escape route off the station. 6 hours until they learned if they had found allies or walked into their deaths. Taeyang looked at Hana. She met his eyes and nodded. Whatever came, they would face it together. The Draken fleet dropped out of hyperspace exactly on schedule. 12 massive warships, their hulls gleaming in the starlight. Weapons charged and ready. Haven Station's alarms blared across every deck. Taeyang stood in the docking bay beside Hana, his hand near his weapon. Jiwoo had positioned her ship for a quick escape. Sora watched from the shadows, ready to fight or flee. This is Commander Bora of the Imperial Fleet. A voice boomed across the station's speakers. I request permission to dock and speak with Princess Hana of House Silverwing. The station master looked at Hana. She took a deep breath and nodded. Permission granted. Bay 1, come alone. Understood. A single shuttle detached from the lead warship. As it approached, Taeyang studied it with his scanner. No weapons, no additional life signs. Either Bora was genuine or very confident. The shuttle landed with a hiss of pressure. The ramp extended. A tall Draken in decorated armor stepped out. Her scales a deep blue, her eyes sharp and calculating. She was older, with scars that marked a lifetime of battles. She saw Hana and dropped to one knee, her fist over her heart. Princess, you live. The ancestors be praised. Hana's voice was cautious. Rise, Commander. How did you find me? We have been searching since the attack. General Yuna claimed you were killed by human terrorists, but I never believed it. I knew my student would not die so easily. Bora's eyes shifted to Taeyang. And this is the human who saved you? Pilot Taeyang Park, Hana said. He risked everything for me. Bora studied him for a long moment. You have my gratitude, human, and my respect. It takes courage to stand against the Empire. I wasn't trying to stand against anything, just doing what was right. What was right, Bora smiled grimly. Few in the Empire remember what that means anymore. She turned back to Hana. Princess, 1/3 of the fleet remains loyal to your father and to you. We could not act without proof you lived, but now that we know the truth, we are ready to fight. How many ships? Hana asked. 40 warships scattered across the sector. Thousands of soldiers who still honor the old ways. Bora's expression hardened. But General Yuna controls the capital and the Emperor. Without him, we cannot challenge her claim to power. Then we free my father, Hana said simply. The palace is a fortress. Yuna has it locked down. Guards everywhere, surveillance systems, automated defenses. A direct assault would be suicide. Taeyang had been listening quietly. Now he spoke. What if we didn't assault it directly? What if we got the truth to the people first? Bora looked at him. Explain. The Empire thinks Hana is dead, killed by humans. If we broadcast the truth, show them she's alive, that Yuna tried to murder her, it would shake their loyalty. Some would defect. Others would question. And in that chaos we strike. The communication blackout, Bora began. We break it. We get close enough to the homeworld to override the military channels. Broadcast directly to the people. Bora was quiet, thinking. It could work, but you would need to get past the orbital defenses, and someone would have to infiltrate the palace itself to free the Emperor. I will go, Hana said immediately. Princess, you are injured, weakened. I am going. Her voice was iron. He is my father. This is my responsibility. Taeyang stepped forward. Then I'm going with her. Human, this is not your fight. Yes, it is. Someone once told me we're partners. Partners don't split up when things get dangerous. Hana looked at him and something passed between them, an understanding deeper than words. Very well, Bora said. I will coordinate the fleet. We will create a diversion, draw the orbital defenses away from the palace. That will give you a window to land, but it will be brief, perhaps 10 minutes before Yuna realizes what is happening. 10 minutes, Taeyang said. We'll make it work. They spent the next day planning. Bora's ships would jump to the homeworld and engage the orbital stations, claiming they were conducting training exercises. Meanwhile, Taeyang and Hana would slip through in his fighter, using the chaos to reach the palace. The night before they left, Taeyang found Hana on the observation deck, staring at the stars. Can't sleep? He asked. Too many thoughts. She glanced at him. I keep thinking about what Yuna said, that I am weak because I want peace, that the Empire will fall if we change. Do you believe that? No, but what if I am wrong? What if bringing peace destroys everything my people have built? Taeyang stood beside her. My people nearly destroyed themselves fighting endless wars. We almost made Earth uninhabitable. It wasn't until we chose peace, chose to build instead of destroy, that we survived. Change is scary, but staying the same when the same is broken, that's worse. She was quiet for a moment. How did you become so wise? I'm not wise. I just pay attention. She leaned her head against his shoulder, a gesture that felt natural and right. I am glad you saved me, Taeyang. Not because you are helping me retake the throne, but because I have found someone who sees me, not as a princess or a symbol, but as myself. He wanted to tell her that he saw more than that he saw someone brilliant and brave and beautiful, that somewhere between the jungle moon and this moment he had fallen completely in love with her. But the words stuck in his throat. Because what future could they have? She was a princess. He was just a pilot. When this was over, she would return to her empire and he would go back to his simple life. Except he knew that was a lie. Nothing would be simple again. The jump to the Draken homeworld took 6 hours. Taeyang spent most of it checking and rechecking his systems. Hana meditated, preparing for battle. When they dropped out of hyperspace, the sight took his breath away. The Draken homeworld was beautiful. A planet of mountains and crystal cities where towers reached into the clouds. Dragons soared between the spires, their scales catching the sunlight like jewels. It was also heavily defended. Orbital stations bristled with weapons. Patrol ships crisscrossed the space around the planet, And in the center of it all, the Imperial Palace, a massive structure built into the tallest mountain. Bora's moving, Hana said, watching her scanner. There, the training exercise is beginning. Sure enough, Bora's fleet was engaging the orbital stations. Not with live fire, but with simulation markers. The stations, confused by the unexpected drill, scrambled to respond. That's our window, Tae-Yang said. He pushed his fighter forward, skimming along the planet's atmosphere. Alarms screamed. We've been detected. Ignore it. Stay on course. They dove into the atmosphere, heat shields glowing. Behind them, 3 patrol ships broke off to intercept. Hana, I need you to broadcast your message now. She had prepared a recording explaining everything. Yuna's betrayal, the attempt on her life, the truth about the coup. Now she transmitted it on every frequency, flooding the communication networks. For a moment, nothing happened. Then chaos erupted. The patrol ships stopped firing. Across the planet, military channels lit up with confused chatter. Soldiers saw their princess alive, accusing General Yuna of treason. Some didn't believe it, but some did. Tae-Yang used the confusion to reach the palace. He landed hard in a courtyard, rolling to absorb the impact. The fighters' landing gear collapsed, but they were down. 10 minutes, he said, grabbing his weapons. Let's go. They ran through familiar corridors that Hana remembered from childhood. Guards appeared, weapons raised, but hesitated when they saw the princess. Some stood aside. Others joined them. The Emperor is in the throne room, one guard said. General Yuna keeps him there on display. They fought their way up through the palace. Tae-Yang had never been in a real battle before. His hand shook as he fired his plasma pistol, but he kept moving, kept fighting because Hana was beside him and he would not let her down. Hana was magnificent in battle. She moved like water, her combat training evident in every motion. When she transformed partially, scales armoring her skin, claws extending, she was unstoppable. They reached the throne room. The massive doors were sealed. Stand back, Hana said. She transformed fully, her dragon form filling the corridor. With one massive strike, she tore the doors open. General Yuna stood before the throne. The Emperor sat there, eyes glazed, barely conscious. Around them, a dozen elite guards leveled weapons. Hana, Yuna said calmly, you should have stayed dead. You tried to kill me. Your own niece. I tried to save the Empire from your weakness. You would have us make peace with humans, with species that are beneath us. You would destroy everything we are. No, Hana said. I would make us better. Yuna transformed, her dragon form dark red, massive and scarred from 1,000 battles. Then you will die trying. They clashed in the air, 2 dragons fighting above the throne room. Tae-Yang tried to reach the Emperor, but the guards blocked his way. Then something unexpected happened. Half the guards lowered their weapons. We saw the broadcast, one said. We know the truth. The others, still loyal to Yuna, attacked. The throne room erupted into chaos. Above, Hana and Yuna fought with primal fury. Claws tore scales. Teeth snapped. Fire met fire in blazing columns. Hana was younger, faster. But Yuna was experienced, ruthless. She caught Hana's wing, tearing through the membrane. Hana screamed and fell. No! Tae-Yang ran forward, firing his weapon at Yuna. The shots were useless against her armored scales, but they got her attention. Yuna turned those cold eyes on him. The human. You corrupted her, made her weak. She dove toward him, jaws opening. Hana threw herself between them, taking the hit meant for Tae-Yang. They crashed together, rolling across the floor. Why? Yuna demanded, pinning Hana down. Why would you sacrifice yourself for a human? Because he is worth more than 1,000 warriors like you. Hana's eyes blazed. He knows what you have forgotten. That strength without honor is nothing. That power without compassion is evil. With a surge of strength, Hana threw Yuna off. They faced each other, both bloodied, both exhausted. I could kill you, Hana said. End this now. But I will not. You will face justice, trial, judgment. That is the difference between us. Yuna laughed bitterly. Mercy is weakness. No, mercy is strength. Yuna's remaining loyal guards moved to attack, but it was over. The broadcast had done its work. Across the palace, across the planet, soldiers were defecting, choosing the princess over the general. Bora arrived with reinforcements. Yuna was arrested, her guards surrendering. Tae-Yang ran to Hana. She had transformed back, her body covered in wounds. She smiled weakly. We did it. You did it. I just followed. Liar. The Emperor was freed from his drugged state. When he saw his daughter, tears ran down his face. They embraced and Taeyang turned away, giving them privacy. He walked to the balcony, looking out over the crystal city. Dragons soared in celebration. The coup was over. Hana was safe. His job was done. Behind him, he heard Hana cry out. He turned and saw her collapse, her wounds too severe. Medics rushed forward, but she was fading fast. Taeyang ran to her side, taking her hand. Stay with me, please, we won. You can't leave now. Her golden eyes found his. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Then her eyes closed and the world went dark. Taeyang refused to leave the medical bay. He sat beside Hana's bed for 3 days while Drake and doctors worked to save her life. They used technology he didn't understand. Machines that hummed and glowed. Treatments that seemed like magic. Emperor Taemin visited often. The drugs had been purged from his system, and he looked stronger each day. Though grief lined his face as he watched his daughter fight for life. You saved her twice now, the Emperor said quietly, standing beside Taeyang, once from the attack and again by giving her a reason to fight Yuna. I didn't do anything special. You did the impossible. You showed a princess who had lost faith in everyone that there was still honor in the galaxy. Taemin placed a hand on Taeyang's shoulder. She spoke of you often in her messages to me before the coup. She said you saw the world differently. Made her question everything she thought she knew. Taeyang looked at Hana's still form. Her scales had lost some of their shine, her breathing shallow. She's the one who changed me. Before her, I was just running from my past. She made me want to be better. Then you are good for each other. On the 4th day, Hana's eyes opened. Taeyang was dozing in his chair when her hand squeezed his. He jolted awake to find her watching him, those golden eyes tired but clear. You are still here, she whispered. Where else would I be? Most people would have left. Returned to their lives when I'm not most people. She smiled, the expression lighting up her face despite her exhaustion. No, you are not. The doctors declared her recovery miraculous. Draken biology was resilient, but the wounds she had suffered should have killed her. They credited her will to survive. Taeyang knew the truth. She had survived because she was Hana, and she was too stubborn to give up. As she recovered over the following weeks, the empire transformed around them. Emperor Taemin resumed his throne, but he was different now. Weaker in body, but stronger in purpose. He knew how close he had come to losing everything. General Yuna and her supporters faced trial. Many were imprisoned. Some were exiled. The empire had been shaken to its core, and now it had to decide what it would become. Hana spent hours in council meetings, helping her father reshape their government. Taeyang watched from the sidelines, feeling increasingly out of place in the grand halls of the palace. He was just a pilot. This wasn't his world. Commander Daewon contacted him on the 5th week. Park, you need to come home. You've been AWOL for 2 months. There's paperwork piling up, and the coalition wants to talk to you about everything that happened. I know. I'll be there soon. Soon? Daewon sounded surprised. I thought you'd have left already. The princess is safe. Your job is done, was it? Taeyang looked around his small room in the palace. Servants had offered him grander quarters, but he had refused. This was temporary. He wasn't staying. The problem was, he didn't want to leave. He found Hana in the royal garden, sitting beneath a crystal tree. She looked beautiful in traditional Draken robes, her scales catching the sunlight. She looked like a princess, like someone untouchable. Taeyang, she said, smiling. I was hoping you would come. Sit with me, he sat, suddenly awkward. How was the council meeting? Long, boring, everyone arguing about trade agreements and border security. She sighed. Sometimes I miss our time on the jungle moon. Things were simpler when we were just trying to survive. Yeah, simpler. She looked at him, her expression becoming serious. You are planning to leave. It wasn't a question. She knew him too well. I've been gone too long. My people need me to come back, explain what happened, and you have your duties here, I see. They sat in silence. A dragon flew overhead, its shadow passing over them. Do you remember what I told you about the Oath of Wings? Hana asked quietly. That I was bound to you, that I would stay by your side? You don't owe me anything, Hana. You never did. It is not about owing. It is about choosing. She turned to face him fully. I choose you, Taeyang. Not because of duty or honor. Because you make me happy. Because with you I can be myself, not just a princess. His heart hammered in his chest. Hana, you're royalty. I'm nobody. You have an empire to help rule. I have a patrol route and a commander who wants to court-martial me. So we are from different worlds. So what? Her eyes flashed. You taught me that what matters is not what others expect of us, but what we choose for ourselves. I am choosing you. What about the Empire? Your father? I spoke with him this morning. He gave me his blessing. She took his hand. The Empire is changing. We are opening our borders, making peace with the coalition. Someone will need to serve as ambassador to help our peoples understand each other. I can think of no one better than a Draken princess and a human pilot who already proved it is possible. Taeyang stared at her. You want us to be ambassadors? I want us to be together. The rest we will figure out. He thought about all the reasons this was a bad idea. They were too different. The politics would be impossible. Half the galaxy would have opinions about a human and a Draken together. Then he thought about watching her die in his arms. About 3 days of sitting beside her bed, praying to any god that would listen, about the hollow feeling in his chest at the thought of never seeing her again. Okay, he said. Okay. She looked surprised, as if she had expected more argument. Yeah, let's figure it out together. She kissed him then, her lips soft against his, her scales warm where they brushed his skin. It felt right, like coming home after a long journey. When they pulled apart, both smiling, a voice coughed behind them. Emperor Taemin stood there, trying not to smile. I see you have discussed my proposal. Father. Hana jumped up, blushing. Peace, daughter. I approve. Though perhaps keep such displays private until after we announce this to the court. The announcement created chaos, as expected. Some in the Empire were outraged. Some humans thought Taeyang was a traitor, but many, especially those who had heard about the coup and rescue, saw it differently. A princess who chose a commoner, a human who saved an enemy. It was a story the galaxy needed. The Galactic Coalition held a ceremony honoring Taeyang for his actions. He stood in his dress uniform, uncomfortable with the attention while medals were pinned to his chest. Anna sat in the audience wearing robes that blended Draken and human styles. When he looked at her, she winked. Commander Daewon approached him afterward. I never thought I'd see the day. Taeyang Park, the man who avoided responsibility like a plague, now an ambassador. I'm terrified, Taeyang admitted. Good, that means you'll take it seriously. Daewon smiled. For what it's worth, I think you'll do great. You've always had a gift for seeing past the obvious to what really matters. 6 months passed. Taeyang found himself back in his fighter, but everything was different now. Hana flew beside him in her own ship, a sleek Draken design that made his fighter look like scrap metal. They were patrolling the border between human and Draken space, a joint operation that would have been impossible a year ago. Your flying has improved, Hana said over the comm. I had a good teacher. I taught you nothing. You are still terrible at defensive maneuvers. And you're still terrible at admitting I'm right about anything. She laughed, the sound warm in his ear. This is true. They completed their patrol and landed on a joint station, a new construction where both species worked together. It was chaotic, with constant misunderstandings and cultural clashes, but it was working. As they walked through the station, Hana's wing brushed his shoulder occasionally. It was a Draken gesture of affection, one she did unconsciously now. People stared. They always did. A dragon princess and a human pilot, the oddest couple in the galaxy. But Taeyang had stopped caring about the stares. Do you ever regret it? He asked as they watched ships come and go through the viewport. Giving up the quiet life in the palace? Hana leaned against him. I did not give up anything. I gained everything. The politics still drive you crazy. Yes, but I have you to complain to about it. She looked up at him. Do you regret saving me? Not for a second. Not even when I am annoying, especially when you're annoying. She punched his arm lightly, but she was smiling. They stood there watching the stars together, the dragon princess and the pilot who had saved her. A call came through on Taeyang's communicator. Ambassador Park, we need you in the conference room. There's a situation. He sighed. Always a situation. I will come with you, Hana said. You don't have to. It's probably something boring. I know. She took his hand. But I told you I would stay by your side. I meant it. You know I'm going to keep flying into dangerous situations, right? That's kind of my thing. I know. That is why I'm not leaving your side. They walked together toward the conference room, partners in every sense. Behind them, through the viewport, a formation of ships flew past, Draken and human vessels flying side by side. the symbol of a new alliance built on the courage of one pilot and one princess who chose to see past their differences. The galaxy was changing. Wars were ending. Peace was being built slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. And at the center of it all, a dragon princess who refused to leave the side of the human who had saved her, not because of duty or debt, but because she had found someone who saw her for who she really was, someone who made her want to be better, someone who was worth fighting for, someone she loved. In his quarters that night, Tai Yang found Hana standing on the balcony watching the stars. He joined her and they stood in comfortable silence. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How strange fate is. If you had followed orders that day, if you had not answered my distress call, I would be dead. The Empire would be under Yuna's control. Everything would be different. But I did answer, and here we are. Here we are." She smiled. "Fighting bureaucrats instead of armies. Is it what you imagined? This life? No, it is better." She turned to him. "I imagined duty, responsibility, loneliness. Instead, I have purpose, partnership, and you." He pulled her close, her scales warm against his skin. Above them, the stars shone bright and eternal. "I have a question," he said. "Yes? That first day on the jungle moon, you said you didn't have words for what we were. Have you found them yet?" Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke in her native tongue, a word that sounded like music and thunder together. "What does it mean?" he asked. "In your language, the closest translation is soulmate. Someone whose spirit flies with yours. Someone you choose forever." "I like that. As do I." They stood together under alien stars, the pilot and the princess, the human and the dragon, two people from different worlds who had found each other against impossible odds. The galaxy would keep changing. There would be more challenges, more obstacles, more people who thought their bond was wrong or impossible. But Hana had made her choice, and so had Taeyang. She would not leave his side, and he would never ask her to. Together they would face whatever came next, partners in every flight, in every battle, in every moment of peace. Together they were home.